Welcome. I'm Brian Levin, Chair of the Commission on the State of Haight, and we are going to have our call to order. I'd like to welcome you to our first meeting of the year of our California Commission on the State of Haight. Closed captioning is available for this meeting. The closed captions can be displayed in English or another language, which will allow you to view an automated live transcript of the meeting in another language. To display closed captions on your screen, please do the following. Select the box at the bottom of the window labeled, at your Zoom window rather. Click the bottom button labeled Show Captions at the bottom of your Zoom window. Then select the box at the bottom of the window labeled Enable Translation. So click the button labeled Show Captions, and then select the box at the bottom of the window labeled Enable Translations. When you see your enabled translation at the top, select English as the speaking language, and then select your preferred language in the second menu. Click Save. Automated captions in your selected language should start appearing at the bottom of the Zoom window. And we will send instructions in Spanish in the chat. Now, on subsection B, I'd like to have our Deputy Director, Alec, establish a quorum, if he would be kind enough to call the roll.
Thank you, Chair. We will start with Chair Levin.
Present.
Vice Chair Damsky.
Good morning, I'm here.
Commissioner Che.
Present.
Commissioner Cuellar. Commissioner Roybal.
Present.
Commissioner Salcedo. Commissioner Suthers.
Present.
So we have 5 commissioners present. We have a quorum.
Fantastic. A quorum is established. We're now going to review the agenda. If we could have that slide, that would be great. Fantastic. We started with our welcome and call to order. We are next did our quorum and roll call. Our Roman numeral section 2 is an informational presentation, which I'll talk about just in a minute by our special guest, Dr. Ron Avi Aster. We will then move on to approval of the minutes. Following, and we have 2 sets of minutes to approve from December and November of last year. Then we will go with respect to discussion regarding, no, actually we are deleting for today discussion regarding youth involvement with the commission, which was in section 5. We will then go to chair, vice chair, and subcommittee updates at number 6. Following that agenda item, we will have discussion and election of the chair after we had in the previous Roman numeral 6, the departmental subcommittee updates, the subcommittee updates rather. So after the election of the chair, we will then go to Roman numeral 8, which will be discussion and election of a vice chair. Roman numeral 9 is discussion of civil rights and civil liberties. 10 will be discussion of adding homeless to hate crime laws. Agenda item 11 will relate to discussion of requirements for hate crime training video. Agenda item 12 will be commission announcements. And then agenda item 13 are future agenda items. Agenda item 14 will be public comment. And agenda item 15 will be adjournment. And we had a very good record last year of getting things out by 11:30 to noon. So hopefully we will do that as well. So I hope everyone understands where we were with respect to the agenda items. Next, if I may, we are going to move to, we're going to remove agenda item number 3, which was an informational presentation entitled Hope After Hate. So that will be a deletion with respect to that particular presentation. Though I'd like to now move on to the review of the process for public comment. If you are joining us on Zoom and would like to make a public comment, please use the raised hand feature to join the public comment queue. If you are joining us by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing star or asterisk 9 and star or asterisk 6 to unmute. You may also submit a written public comment by emailing as follows: capital CSH at calcivilrights.ca.gov. That's CSH, all caps, at calcivilrights.ca.gov. If you submit a written comment that pertains to an agenda item, we will read it aloud or summarize it when public comment portion of that agenda item is open and before any vote. If the comment is not about a specific agenda item, we will read it aloud or summarize it during the agenda item titled Public Comment on Items Not on the Agenda. So, and I know Kevin will insert that into the chat as well. For anyone joining us in the room in Sacramento, please raise your hand for a verbal comment and we will unmute the room. You may also submit a written comment by writing your comment on a piece of paper and handing it to Zelina Molina, our wonderful new staff member, by the way, in the room today, and we welcome her. In the interest of time, we will limit verbal public comment to 2 minutes per person. There's commission discussion on this. Kevin, do we have any commissioners with their hands raised?
No commissioners with hands raised.
Fantastic. And now we'll demonstrate what we just talked about, public comment. Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Thank you. Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
There are no email public comment.
Fantastic. Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
Excellent. We are now going to then, without further ado, move to our agenda item 2, which is an informational presentation. Policy, programs, and systems to reduce hate in schools. Leveraging existing school safety frameworks to address specific forms of hate across California. And it is by our wonderful guest today, Dr. Ron Avi Astor, who's a professor at the Luskin School of Public Affairs. We are so fortunate to have you today. So without further ado, I would like to turn the floor over to our esteemed guest.
Thank you. I'm just going to put this in show mode if I can. Hold on. I'm trying to, let's see if that works. Can you see it? Wonderful. Great. Thank you. I want to thank you all for inviting me. Now more than ever, I mean, I've been doing this kind of work for a very, very long time, and your work is really important for our state and for our country. And I want to thank you for the effort and time that you put into this work. My name is Ron Avi Astor. I've been doing school safety research for, I hate to say it, almost 40 years now in different countries around the world, including South America, Chile in particular, Quebec, Kosovo, Cameroon, Japan, and most of the things that I've talked about here have been adopted by the entire country. So I deal with scale, issues of not just small programs, but how do they scale and how do they sustain themselves. And today I'm going to present 2 specific studies that just got published, and this one in Educational Researcher, and they have to do with data that we actually have that was collected from the California Healthy Kids Survey that actually has a question that very few people use around discriminatory bullying and violence. And they ask the kids, have these events happen to you? Have you been kicked? Have you been hit? Has a gun been drawn against you? Whatever these kinds of victimization questions are. But then they ask, has this happened because of your identity, of who you are? And they have a checklist. Very little work has been done on this. So that we've actually took the database from California, I'll show you in a second, and split them between the victims that were biased, based on bias-based victimization, non-bias-based victimization, and those that didn't have any. And then the big question that we had is, if you have a really positive school climate, is that going to make a difference? So that's the first study we're going to talk about. Now, bullying has been around for a while, and the reason why I'm using a school safety framework rather than the traditional bias or hate or other kinds of literatures is because they've been disconnected with the school safety research as a whole. When you look at it, there's very little research looking at distinguishing between being victimized for just interpersonal reasons versus because of who you are. And what I mean, if you're trans or gender expansive, or if you're an immigrant, or if you're Jewish, or if you're Black, if you were victimized for those reasons, there's very little literature in the K-12. Now, the advantage of all this is that there's billions of dollars available for school safety research. And because it's disconnected, many schools don't have access to that either locally or statewide or nationally. And one of the goals was to see if we could actually connect that and see if school safety actually would make a difference in terms of these different kinds of violence. Now, I don't need to tell you about what's going on in the world. We all know, we hear the news, we know what's going on in our country. And polarization and hate and stereotyping and all these other words that we use feel that they're kind of at an apex right now compared to recent years, and people are going different directions. Again, very little in the K-12 sphere, particularly around specific kinds of bias. Now, the reason why that's important for us, that I just had a realization a few years ago, is that, if we don't have the research on it, we don't know, it could be a very different process for a kid in middle school versus high school who has views, or a teacher who has views that are anti-disability versus anti-Arab or Islamophobia. The kinds of thoughts and behaviors that come around those two things would probably require a different intervention. And many of our interventions are kind of generic in terms of stereotyping and moving. Some of them are specific in certain groups, but overall, there's been very little research to see if any of them work for those groups. And we see over time that when NGOs or grants disappears, the effects of those disappear as well, too. So one of the hypotheses here is if we could be more specific about the specific kinds of stereotyping, we might be more effective. So in this particular study, we're going to be looking at suicidal ideation, sadness, and hopelessness, and effect, and how bias affects those things. Again, to remind you all that we're going to be looking at positive school climate, again, because that's what schools do. That's what they should be doing. It's not a program per se. It's the structure of the way schools are. And that's been our approach around the world as well, rather than just a program. I'm not going to get into all this, but just so you'll know, the bias and the kinds of influences could be coming from a variety of ecological sources. It could be coming from what politicians say. It could be coming from social media. It could be coming from the community, even the family or the school itself. And what we're trying to see here is, with these external influences, is it possible for the school, if it's structured properly and it has supports in it, to actually reduce some of these negative outcomes? The second study I'm going to get into in a second is going to look, rather than suicidal ideation and sadness and hopelessness, we want to see if the bias actually and school climate have a different effect on substance use for kids in K-12. And again, when I talk about school safety, it has all these various components: relationships, academic achievement, school safety, belonging, context. That's the classic definition of school climate. Now, one of the problems with our prior work worldwide is that these have been conceptualized by psychologists and by social workers, and I'm both, so I could kind of speak openly about that. And this is what I call window air conditioning, that there's usually a curriculum, a program that comes in. It's not part of the school culture. It's not part of the organization. And it only lasts as long as that grant is there or the people who are running it from the outside is there. We don't see effects spreading or sustaining themselves anywhere in the world with kind of a window air conditioning approach. So again, we're looking at school climate because that's more central air. That's part of what the school does. That's part of the mission of the school. And we see long-term effects for all different kinds of victimization. We believe it's going to be the same for this particular bias. So the first study has over 1 million kids in California. It has 2,000, over 2,500 schools. The second study has over 600,000 kids from California and over 1,000 schools. This is taken from the California Healthy Kids Survey with middle and high school age kids. We combine this with California Department of Education data to have a very robust database. Again, these are anonymous, but we know which schools and we know where they are, but we don't know the individual kids. So I'm just going to go in short in terms of the outcomes so you could see how climate behaves differently and how important research is before we put in interventions. As we expected, victimization, particularly bias victimization, really increases directly suicidal ideation, sadlessness, and hopelessness. That's something that we would have predicted. But now we have really a population sample here. And then the positive school climate actually reduces victimization. We've had lots of studies showing that. So this is not all that surprising, but it confirms it with a really massive sample specific to California. Now, what's surprising is the interaction. That means, is the school changing somehow with a positive school climate? And here, this was a somewhat surprising result that actually has been found over and over again in Europe that I've been criticizing for years, that they're not doing something right, that they don't know what they're talking about. But we now found this in California too. The positive school climate had much, much weaker effects, almost not very much at all, with those that were victims of biased victimization, which is really relevant to this committee compared to those who were just victimized. In fact, those had far fewer effects from a supportive and nurturing school environment. In Europe, they call this the healthy context paradox. My view is that it's not being addressed directly. So again, even if violence is going down in your school, even if things are getting better in terms of the school climate, if you're victimized because you're trans or because you're an immigrant or because you're Muslim, and that's not being addressed, that actually can make you feel worse over time. So that's the hypothesis in terms of what's going on here. Now, in terms of the second study, in terms of substance use, and I wanted to show you this because climate behaves a little bit differently here. Victimization actually increases substance use. Depression and suicidal ideation increases substance use. And the positive school climate with substance use, and this is across all forms of substance use, lowers dramatically the use of substances. And that's true even if students were victimized through bias or non-biased kinds of victimization in school. So for that particular outcome, a positive school climate really helps across the board. Again, I want to show you this because we need to be more nuanced in our interventions, I think. They need to be more integrated into what the school actually does on a day-to-day basis. And we need to figure out how this works also for different kinds of groups. Now, again, if you're interested in interventions, we've done this, something similar in San Diego schools with about 145 schools over an 8-year period where we were able to increase the positive school climate, but also specifically work with the civilian schools so they could actually serve kids who were from military families who had a lot of trauma. And we saw dramatic reductions over an 8-year period that are still continuing to this day over a variety of different outcomes, including substance use and suicidal ideation. And we think this would work for also bias-based outcomes. Intervention-wise, I'm working with the Holocaust Museum LA right now to develop an instrument, because one of the things we found is when you look at the more nuanced, specific types of bias, there's very little research and information on it. For example, we couldn't find almost any research on anti-Semitism we put it into National Academy of Science. They agreed. There wasn't hardcore research on it, and actually on what works with that. That was true also with anti-Arab. It was true with immigrant groups. It was true with a lot of other groups. So how could we have an instrument that every school could have so they know actually what kids and teachers and community members are thinking so they could be addressed in a positive way? So this instrument is being piloted right now. The Holocaust Museum has integrated. They have over 100,000 kids and teachers annually, and we'll be able to see if the instrument is actually working across the board with different forms of bias that have not been researched so they could be helpful at the school level. Again, we're hoping at the state level, we could take that and actually develop school level dashboards, policy briefs that are specific to different districts and regions, and actually a validated K-12 anti-bias toolkit that comes with it. Bottom line is my approach is really looking at the school as a whole so that this could be sustained over time and it could be alterable and changed depending on the kinds of stereotypes, the kinds of hate, the kinds of bias that happen to be in that community, that school at that particular time. And I'd like to finish with a poem I wrote about our work that I think captures some of this long-term hard work. And it's one drop by drop by drop by drop changes forever the mighty granite boulder that seemed unchangeable before the water drip by drop began transforming everything into a new world. And that's my hope and wish for your commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Astor. Just a quick question. I'd love for you to, I know you have some urgent stuff. Could you stay for some commission discussion?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So let me introduce our guest today. What a fantastic presentation and how timely. I mean, how timely. And I'll have a question about it for you in a minute after all my esteemed colleagues go first. But I just want to tell you about him. Dr. Avi Astor has joint appointments in the Luskin School of Public Affairs and the School of Education. And his research, as we've seen, examines how physical, social, organizational, and cultural contexts shape bullying, discrimination, hate acts, and school violence, including cyberbullying, sexual harassment, weapon use, and school-level threat assessment. Over 3 decades. So you're not as young as you look.
It's actually 4 decades. I have to update that.
Oh my goodness.
I know it's going on.
Let me know what vitamins you're taking. But in any event, over 4 decades, Dr. Astor has led large-scale international studies involving tens of thousands of schools and millions of students, educators, and families across the U.S. And indeed the world. And he's won numerous awards and is an elected member of the National Academy of Education and the American Academy of Social Work and Social Welfare. His research has been supported by a variety of federal agencies, foundations, and ministries of education. And he's provided congressional policy briefings, organized a White House conference on school safety, and co-authored a National Association of Social Work School Work Standards. So we have a whole bunch of wonderful commissioners, and one of the things that I just want to in turning it over to them, please, not only our wonderful commissioners, but if there's a Civil Rights Department staff as well that has any questions, because one of the things that we try to do here in the commission is bring these expert voices to communities. And I can't think of a better example. So we will start with my esteemed colleague and Trojan, Dr. Errol Southers.
Thank you, Chair Levin. And I'll take this opportunity to introduce Ron as a Brogan, who I knew from USC before he went to UCLA. So he's an esteemed colleague and friend of many, many years. Ron, thank you for this incredible presentation. And with respect to all my other commissioners and time, I'm only going to ask one question. On the Holocaust Museum LA K through 12 anti-bias instrument, and I'm not trying to nudge the time frame here, but when do you expect your first report out from that instrument being implemented and what the results may be?
Yeah, I mean, our belief system is the data doesn't get back to the school or the organization within a week, it's not useful. So the way we're working on this is true for all the countries, Chile, other places we work, doesn't help to come a year later, or if it's generic, you need to know it about your own school. So what we started working with them in January right now. It took a year plus with all the MOUs and all the pilot funding and all that. So we're starting with teachers right now, just to see what they think first, right, and principals, because that's important before you implement anything. And we're getting initial data right away. This is their intake. They've adopted it as their intake before people come into it. And again, they hadn't done that in the past, so that they know what the thinking is that they could address and actually follow up in the schools to see, was anything done? Did it change? So they're very supportive and helpful. It's been great working with them. We were already collecting as we're going. I think we're going to wait till we get about 2,000 teachers or so that it'll be reliable. There's different kinds of schools, there's different kinds of populations in Los Angeles, as you could imagine, different cultures. So we want to make sure that we got it right before we let it out, because it's never been done. Some of these groups have never had research on them, hardcore research. So we don't want to put out something to the public that's going to be inaccurate. We want to make sure it's valid and reliable, both at the museum level and also at the school level. So I'm guessing, if everything goes well, probably by midsummer to the beginning of fall, we'll have a really robust report. And we put out those reports very quickly, usually within a week.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to cheat a little bit, ask a half a question. Will the schools be categorized? In other words, unified schools, independent schools, schools that are religion-based schools, will it be categorized that way?
Well, I mean, working with schools around the world, schools are worried about this data. You have to, because they could be targeted from the outside. So we try and keep not only the students anonymous, but to the public, at least initially, the schools anonymous.
Got
The
it.
schools know who they are, obviously,
Okay,
but usually what the countries and states do is after 2 or 3 years of actually intervention, then they could put out, the location of the school and what they've done to work. But at that point, they already see the progress that's been made, and usually they report on the progress and not. That's been much more helpful than a more punitive approach of labeling. So we're very careful. No one will know the particular school, but the school itself and perhaps the district. But yes, the museum will know, and LACO, who's also partnering with us, Los Angeles County Office of Education, will then hopefully scale it. And then at the state level, we're also hoping we have a bill going up, hoping that the state will also adopt this and integrate it into the core and Healthy Kids survey, as we did with the military survey that was picked up. And then all 50 states are using it. We're thinking of the same strategy.
great. Thank you again for your incredible years of commitment to this important information that we need and we've been looking at. So thank you again.
And thank you. I've been 18 years at USC, and I still cheer. Shh, don't tell UCLA. I still cheer for the Trojans sometimes, right? Anyways, go ahead.
We'll keep that a secret, but thank you both. I am going to not. I was going to ask a question. I'm not going to do it in the interest of time, because I think we have at least two commissioners with their hands raised. Are there any others? I didn't see any others, but if there are, just let me know. I'm going to now just defer to my wonderful colleague, Commissioner Che. But before I turn the mic over, I want to congratulate her on just a fantastic presentation before our state assembly yesterday. So that I'm just going to use that chair's privilege. You make us so proud. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Levin. Dr. Astor, thank you so much for your presentation and insights. And in particular, I think it affirms our own understanding of the trifecta, the rhetoric, the policies, and the manifestations of interpersonal harm that happens in schools and other places. And I really appreciate the fact that this needs to be dealt with holistically, systemically. I'm wondering what the experience has been with the leadership, the administration, and teachers, given the onslaught of other challenges, funding cuts, teacher shortages, all the other challenges, and what's been your experience in terms of receptivity?
I think it's hard. It's a difficult mindset what I'm presenting than what they're used to. That's why I have that slide on window air conditioning versus central air. we've seen this again all over the world. Once you're coming in with an extra program that they have to do, that's in addition to everything else that they have to do, your comment is very relevant. Who has the time and money to do it? So before I put even 1 second of effort into any project, I want to know, how is it going to be funded? How is it going to be sustained? How is it going to be integrated into what they're doing? So interestingly, around the different places in the world, and I hope this would happen here, we're not having people from the outside. We're actually working with the physics teachers and the chemistry teachers and the math teachers and arts teachers. So they're actually doing things within their classes around those issues and projects. So it's not something that they're not doing. They just become more aware of who's there and how they could structure their class so it'll be more equitable and address any stereotypes that's happening at their grade level. That has worked way better. Again, it's become part of what the school does, part of it. Now, money-wise, they're losing out on a lot of money by not integrating this because they're not thinking of it as a school safety issue right now. Once they do that, they have LCAP money, they have federal money, they have state money to address this problem long term, which right now you get a grant, might last a year or two, disappears, and it's the goodwill of the principal or the teachers. So it's a great question that you have. But what we normally do then is we find these schools, we call them, they're doing a really good job, and we create case studies around those. Those tend to spread like wildfire, especially from principal to principal, school to school. And it convinces them I could teach my math class and not add on another whole program, but actually address this issue of bias. By the way, math has some of the biggest biases, by the way. We're in our research too, in terms of how smart you are, how capable. Math teachers have taken a long time to understand that when they do, their classes become less biased and people go into the sciences. So even in our thinking, we tend to think of it as something separate from the academics. It's not. If we could move this into the classroom, into the school, into the central air, it works better.
Thank you so much. We're going to move straight to our wonderful vice chair. But before I do, I want to pull another ledger domain and say how proud we are of you, vice chair, who is just the recipient of, I believe, is the inaugural President's Award from the San Diego Equality Dems. I hope I got that all right. If I don't, I will stand corrected. But how proud we are of you, and what a well-deserved recognition. The floor is yours, my wonderful vice chair.
Thank you, Chair Levin. And thank you, Professor Astor. I wanted to not so much ask a question, but to particularly comment on the importance of looking at how hate and bias impacts students' behavior towards each other and self-harm. I think these are pieces that have been institutionally overlooked, and I'm really excited to see you talk about those today. I look forward to seeing your future reports. Thank you.
I want to comment on that if you can. We've been looking at self-harm for about 20 years right now, particularly in California. It's the first time that we're connecting issues of hate and bias towards kids on that. It's quite concerning. Now, remember, what we're doing in this data is not stuff that doesn't exist. It's been there for 30 plus years through these surveys. It's going to the state. Very few schools are actually using this information, particularly self-harm. And what we found is in California, again, this is almost a population, so it's almost every high school and middle school. So it's not a regular sample. That they're even in the same communities that have the same risk factors, that have the same kinds of background issues, you see huge variations on particularly suicidal ideation and hopelessness. And I'll give you an example. Some schools in California have up to 65% kids who have suicidal ideation. Others right next to it have a 4%. And we think a lot of this has to do with the issue that we're talking about here today of stereotyping and bias and what the school is actually doing through their climate. So schools actually have the capability, and we published this in Pediatrics a while back. I could share that article with you, to actually bring that information and resources to each school, both of them. We've had that capability already. We're just not using it. That's why we want to integrate it into here is how do we bring it back to the local classroom level so that people actually know, yeah, I have, if you have close to 70% of your kids in your school, what does that mean if they're sitting in your math class? Or same with the bias, if it's particular for a particular group, how are we going to address that? Ironically, when you do address that, the academics go up very high. We have articles on that too. So it not only helps the academics could help the bias at the same time by working on projects and doing it through, as I mentioned before, through their academic subjects. So thank you for raising that. And there's a lot more that I could talk about that if you're interested or send you material.
Thank you. I'd like to see it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to check that we do not have any other questions from commissioner or staff before moving on, and I will unfortunately not be asking one in the interest of time. Okay. Dr. Astor, thank you so much. I know you have an incredibly busy schedule and some urgent matters, so I just want to thank you so much for your innovative research, and it sounds like we should listen to you more.
We need to listen to each other more as a people and as a country, I think, and that's why your work is so important. So thank you for inviting me here. And I think the only way we could make our world a little bit better is working together and listening to each other. So thank you again.
Thank you, and thank you for achieving a key pillar of what this commission strives to do, which is to make sure that we bring community voices and expertise together. So with that in mind, I believe we are going to go to public comment. Kevin, I'm sorry, Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
Yes, we do have one emailed public comment from Emily Alt. This person is asking if Professor Astor would be open to sharing slides from today's presentation.
Absolutely, yes. I think you have them, so I don't know if you want to send them to her directly or you want me to, but let me know.
Yes, we can certainly handle it. Thank you.
Okay.
We've got
No other comments on the email.
Thank you. Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
All right. Thank you so much again, Dr. Astor. We appreciate your time and counsel. Without further ado, then, I'm going to move, in the interest of time, to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes from November 19th, 2025, our community forum, and B, our December 5th, 2025 commission meeting. So we'll first go with our subsection A, the November 19th community forum. Do we have anyone who will move for approval of the minutes from the November 19th, 2025 community forum? Thank you, which are attachment A. We will post, thank you. We will post the link in the chat to download attachment A from the commission's website. All right. Do we have any commission discussion, Kevin? All right.
No.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
No email public comment.
All right. Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
All right. And I don't believe we had any commission discussion, and we have a motion. Do we have a second to approve the minutes from November 19th, 2025 Community Forum?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I would like to now go for a vote. Alec, would you be kind enough to run the roll?
Yes, thank you. Chair Levin,
Approve. Yes.
Vice Chair Damsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Shea,
Approved. Thank you.
Commissioner Cuellar, Commissioner Roybal, Commissioner Roybal?
Approved. Sorry, I was on mute.
No worries. Commissioner Salcedo, Commissioner Suthers.
Approved, yes.
We have 5 ayes. The minutes are approved.
Thank you. We will now move to subsection B, which is approval of the minutes from our December 5th, 2025 commission meeting. They are listed as attachment B, and we will post the link in the chat and if you need to download, you should look at attachment B. Do we have any commission discussion, Kevin?
No commission discussion.
Thank you. Rebecca, do we have any public comments on Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Thank you as well. Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
No email public comment.
Thank you. Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
Okay, and we, once again, any commission discussion, and I don't think we had any. All right, then we will move to a motion to approve. Is there anyone that would like to submit a motion to approve those minutes from our December meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Damsky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Suthers. Alec, would you be kind enough to roll call this vote?
Yes, Chair Levin.
Yes.
Vice Chair Damsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Che.
Yes.
Commissioner Cuellar, Commissioner Roybal,
Aye.
Commissioner Salcedo, Commissioner Suthers.
Yes.
It's 5 ayes. The minutes are approved.
Oh, fantastic. So we will now go to public comment. Kevin, I'm sorry, Rebecca. No, I'm sorry, we're done. We're done. We're going on to another agenda item. Thank you. All right. We are skipping, as we've said previously, our agenda item relating to our other esteemed speakers. So we're going to move now to our chair and subcommittee updates, because our agenda item number 5, we're going to move to a next meeting, because I'd like Commissioner Salcedo to be present, because she motioned that particular topic. So we're now going to move straight to the chair and subcommittee and vice chair updates. And as is my practice, I am going to defer to the end for my chair statement, but I would like to just exercise a slight leisure domain with a welcome. And that is Zelina Molina and Adrian Bakang, who recently joined our California Civil Rights Department and are supporting the commission. Zelina, she, her, and hers began working with us in January and began her career working with youth in educational programs in the Bay Area and then in the Sacramento region. After earning her master's degree, she worked in higher education, supporting students from historically underrepresented backgrounds at Sacramento City College and UC Davis. I believe I'm supposed to say go Aggies. Before joining CRD, she served as Director of Impact at United Way California Capital Region, overseeing educational programs and leading strategic partnerships with community organizations, government agencies, and local stakeholders to advance interest in the Sacramento region. That's very impressive. So thank you so much. We are so thrilled, and it was such a pleasure meeting you in person yesterday up in Sacramento, and thank you for all your help yesterday. Next, we're going to go to Adrian M. Bakang, he, him, his. He began working with us as a Research Data Specialist 3 this January. Adrian was previously a postdoctoral scholar in the division, listen to this, of cardiovascular medicine at the Stanford University School of Medicine. His research focused on the role of social factors on disparities in heart disease among minoritized communities, as well as the usefulness of heart disease risk calculators when applied to minoritized communities. Adrian received, with his PhD in the community health sciences from the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health, and his master's in public health in health promotion and behavioral science from the San Diego State University School of Public Health. And in his free time, Adrian enjoys traveling to state and national parks with his partner, trying new restaurants and watching sports. And I'm presuming that the Aztecs are one of the sports teams that you like to watch. So on that note, I am going to have my actual chair statement run later after all my colleagues, and I would like to now give the floor to my wonderful vice chair, Andrea Beth Damsky. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Levin, and welcome to our new staffers. I look forward to working with you. Good morning, everyone. As you know, February is Black History Month. February is also Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month and Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. We have several other notable days in February as well. February 1st was World Hijab Day. February 4th was Rosa Parks' birthday. February 6th was the anniversary of the appointment of the first openly gay United States federal judge, Joseph Gale. February 7th was National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. February 13th was Shine a Light on Slavery Day. February 14th, Valentine's Day, we commemorated the anniversary of the Parkland shooting. And the late, great John Lewis's birthday was on February 21st. Many other famous Black Americans were also born in February. And finally, we remember the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who passed away last week. May his memory forever be a blessing and an inspiration. Lately, as my last 6 months on this commission stretch out before me and we issue our most recent report, I've been reflecting on my time and service on this commission, the hopes that I had for it, and the things I hoped we would accomplish. Some things, like working on training videos for implementing Assembly Bill 449 and its requirement for law enforcement officers to report hate incidents that accompany crimes, were completely unexpected and meaningful achievements. We have heard from Californians living in rural parts of our state, from elected officials facing harassment on school boards, from teenagers experiencing hate in schools across racial and religious lines, from people living with disabilities about the discrimination they face, from LGBTQ plus members and trans people about the way hate endangers their lives. We heard about violence directed at homeless people, and we heard from tribal members sharing their pain of discrimination, colonization, and the stories of their missing and murdered Indigenous women, and more. The stories we hear are heartbreaking and heart-opening, and we have not heard them all. There is more we can and should do. As a commission, we could examine legislation that is related to addressing hate. We could evaluate it, hold forums for input, and make recommendations to its authors. While I had hoped that our commission would function more as an activist arm of our civil rights department, we have mostly done valuable research. An important thing we have yet to do as a commission is hold a forum on anti-Semitism. It pains me personally that even as anti-Semitic acts rise beyond levels seen since World War II, in the wake of the war Hamas initiated against Israel on October 7, 2023, and Jewish students face harassment on college and university campuses in proportions never seen before, we have not addressed the anti-Semitism here. We have not even found a way to talk about anti-Semitism without reflexively also talking about Islamophobia in the same sentence. In this, we have been failing. It should be normal and good to address hate towards every group without having to compare it to hate experienced by any other group. Hate is hate, and pain is pain. Each group that experiences hate deserves to have its experiences understood, validated, and addressed on their own merit. This past month has been a full and surprising one for me. As Chair Levin mentioned, I was given the President's Award by San Diego Democrats for Equality for supporting LGBTQ plus Jews facing anti-Semitism by starting the San Diego LGBTQ plus Jewish Coalition. To be a Jewish person honored by a non-Jewish organization for doing work to address anti-Semitism is an extremely rare occurrence. It happened weeks ago, and I am still stunned and surprised. This past weekend, I witnessed a remarkable bridge between Jewish and Palestinian members of the California Democratic Party at its endorsing convention. After years of fighting over language in our resolutions and platform, a statement was worked out that represented unity in our party platform regarding Israel and Gaza. It was such a rare and moving event that other groups which were planning to reject the platform removed their objections so the platform could be adopted because they all wanted to honor this rare display of unity. It was heartful and deeply moving. During our officer elections today, I will not express interest in continuing as vice chair or running for chair. My current term expires in August, and because of the things I mentioned, which our commission has not yet done, I will not be applying to be reappointed to the commission for another term. I will be reclaiming my time for something else which has not yet appeared. And I want to say it is an honor to work with my fellow and sister commissioners and our staff. They are the best of the best. Thank you, Chair Levin. I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, and right back at you. I would like to now go to our subcommittee on patterns, trends, and prevention with Commissioner Che to make the presentation there. The floor is yours, Commissioner Che, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to reiterate, you made us so proud yesterday. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Levin. If I may, before I start the report, I did also, in addition to acknowledge the year of the fire horse and how this relates to the commission work, is that as we gather to examine hate in communities across the state, horse only happens once every 60 years. So essentially, this last time we had the year of the fire horse was 1966. For many of our communities, this is double fire, and it's marked by intensity, boldness, and rapid change. And it's often been historically a period of political and social upheaval. We are entering a moment, and we have been in a period of profound transformation. And I think the question for our commission is how do we use this year, whether we use this year to drive more courageous action. How do we make sure that this year is not just defined by rising hate, but also collective steps to confront and end it. So I'm really proud of the work of the commissioners that you're each leading independently and what we're trying to do through the commission. So with that, I'm pleased to share some updates, including highlighting the latest Williams Institute report, which released the latest study, the inclusion of gender identity and expression in California and federal hate crime laws in December of last year. And this study provides a systematic review of California and federal anti-hate statutes, policies, grants, and civil remedies, and school protections afforded to Californians based on their gender identity and/or gender expression. The study findings will inform recommendations, of course, in this commission's next annual report. Speaking of which, the committee and really the staff is compiling the patterns and trends data for the next annual report, and expects to have preliminary findings to share with the full commission very soon. The staff projects related to the CHS report and patterns and trends, including from the CHIS study. For those who may not be familiar, it's the California Health Interview Survey. Data analysis that's happening and conducted by Dr. Bakong and Dr. Cockstein. The CHIS is the nation's largest state health survey and interviewing over 20,000 households annually. Another area that we're looking into that's being led by Dr. Goodsell is our 2025 DOJ data analysis. And then Dr. Thomas is looking into the 2025 qualitative account of hate in California. On the prevention side, Dr. Goodsell is leading our work around dialogue across difference. These programs seek to foster empathy, active listening, and critical thinking while equipping participants with skills to engage constructively across ideological, cultural, and social divides. Dr. Thomas and Dr. Walther will be sharing from UCSB, will be looking at online hate prevention, and we are awaiting the final paper. And then finally, we have the hate prevention in schools. That's also being led by Dr. Thomas. Findings from the Pasadena Community Forum from last October, which focused on prevention strategies in K-12 schools. And that concludes our report. Any further questions or comments?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions right now? What I'd like to do, though, if possible, is have the questions and comments come after all these subcommittee reports, and then I'll do my chair statement, if that's okay. Unless someone has something pressing, we're happy to have questions now. Thank you once again. The only thing I'd add to that is that I am vigorously working on doing a disaggregation with my friend James Nolan of 30 years of FBI data that is going to be done by community and month. So I'm working on that, and I spoke with some other commissions and some other people who are very interested in it as well. So we're going to try and get that into the mix as well. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. If we could go to item C, which is our subcommittee on resources, support, and response with our esteemed commissioner, Dr. Suthers.
Thank you, Chair Levin. And before I do that report, I want to just mention and support and lift up Vice Chair Adamski. We served together on the recommendations for law enforcement subcommittee. And unfortunately for me, it was a very challenging spring of 2024 where I came under fire in a number of positions during that time. And without her leadership and tenacity, we would not have the video now that's available that we did with the Peace Officer Standards and Training. So she carried the ball, and I want to thank you for that, and thank you for your service. I also want to applaud the staff for bringing world-renowned experts to our commission meetings and to our staff, and to our newest members, welcome aboard. With that, today, Ron Abiaster is known around the world for over 40 years. And at our January 8th subcommittee meeting for resources, support, and response, we brought another colleague of mine, Dr. Daniel Kohler, who I've worked with for many years. He's a subject matter expert, practitioner, and prolific author on de-radicalization. I met him in Germany. I highly recommend his book, Understanding De-Radicalization, Methods, Tools, and Programs for Countering Violent Extremism. He met with our subcommittee. He specializes in topics such as terrorism, radicalization, and de-radicalization. And he advised that any intervention for those at risk of hate offending should be tailored to individual needs. So this is not a template, as many people would like to have. And it's not that simple. It's a very complex issue and can be as individualized as the people who engaged. He did recommend a public health approach, which I've seen in Germany and France, which seems to be a more effective approach than a law enforcement approach. And he emphasized the importance of addressing a new sense of identity and belonging, as well as connecting them to resources such as mental health support and social services. The Phoenix model of disengagement and de-radicalization is one of those evidence-based evidence-based models that we use in developing interventions. He did emphasize that any program should include training staff on risk mitigation and developing communities of practice for staff working with these groups of people. They should also be rigorously evaluated for effectiveness and continuous improvement to address the changing landscape of hate offenders. Daniel took a considerable amount of time to caution us that disengagement may precede or occur independently of ideological change, and stresses the importance of long-term follow-up and aftercare to ensure durable outcomes. And the other thing that we talked about in that particular subcommittee meeting was consistent with the Commission's mandate to provide resources and assistance to Cal OES, which is the Office of Emergency Services. We're going to be presenting to staff at Cal OES in March to highlight the anti-hate resources that we have. The other thing I'd like to bring to everyone's attention is I was recently contacted by Life After Hate, another board that I served on. If you aren't familiar with their work, they were founded years ago by a group of far-right extremists who were willing to and wanting to get out of the movement. I've worked with them for several years. They've been challenged with funding difficulties over the past several administrations. They reached out to me to ask if we would be willing to screen a movie called Healing from Hate, Battle for the Soul of a Nation. They're reaching out to universities and other entities across the country to see if they can share that information. I think given the current climate in the United States and the things that seem to be, as Vice Chair Adamski mentioned, worsening every week, I think it would be really useful if anyone here was willing to partner with them. Again, the film is called Healing from Hate, Battle for the Soul of a Nation. The group is called Life After Hate. Their executive director's name is Shannon. I'm happy to connect you with her. And we're trying to spread the word to see if we can, in fact, screen the film and host discussions afterward regarding hate movements, and most importantly, disengaging. The film features a number of former extremists who I know personally, from as far left and far right, and other extremes in between, where it seems like sometimes there's just a menu out there and they check ideologies that seem counterintuitive, but they are featured in this film and they talk about their life when they were in those movements and what it took for them to disengage. And that's all I have for this subcommittee, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And one of the things I'd like to talk about later is, to the extent that there are community projects or CBOs, and even if we can't have a full commission meeting of it, if we can do mini ones, as long as we don't drive the staff crazy. So I just want to kind of, since you brought up, like, in other words, maybe something where we can have some commissioners come to something at USC. But in other words, anyway, we'll get into that at another time, because I don't want to exert any more ledger domain. And without further ado, first, thank you so much, Dr. Suthers. I so enjoy you and learn from you. I'd like to go to our subcommittee on community forums with our esteemed Chair Emeriti, Russell Roybal. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Levin. I'm delighted to give the Community Forum Subcommittee report since Regina is not here today. As an FYI, Regina and I met in Los Angeles at the CRD offices with the staff to think about the community forums for this year and into the future. The subcommittee spent time reviewing data, community input, and past forums to better understand where we have gaps and opportunities as we plan for this year's forum. Based on the review, the committee identified potential topics, geographic locations, and the time of year. So I want to briefly go about those, and then at the end, I would love to get folks' reactions, feedback, etc. So our goal, as always, with the community forums are to build transparency and trust with communities, to share information, to increase awareness of resources available across the state, to, of course, gather community input, to strengthen relationships with community partners, advocates, local leadership, and the public, and to share policy recommendations with communities, particularly those that they can advocate for at a local level. So all of that kind of went into our calculus, and we wanted to make sure that we were reviewing the data that we had available, what data we did not have, and then what we've done in the past, suggestions from commissioners in the past, and see if there were any topics that we wanted to revisit. So the topics that we are considering for this year are around law enforcement responses to hate, to maybe host a forum focused on highlighting counties in the state where there is underreporting or no reporting of hate incidents, crimes against people based on their race or ethnicity, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, under disability. That forum can also help elevate some of the policy recommendations that we have made related to law enforcement. A couple of other topic areas: online hate prevention, a forum to highlight the strategies related to preventing and reducing online hate. We could possibly focus on youth and social media, but can also integrate incidents experienced by other communities based on race, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, and or disability. Um, uh, and then something maybe around coalition building as an opportunity to highlight the work that community-based organizations in the state are doing in their communities to address hate, specifically related to many of the Stop the Hate grantees that are part of the Department of Social Services with that grant program coming to an end. How do we amplify the work that has been done there to make sure that it continues, or at least that we give voice to it in ways that we can? And then some of the things we talked about revisiting or focusing on are the dialogue across difference, which Commissioner Che mentioned the work that Dr. Goodsell has been doing, but to revisit that as an opportunity to revisit the topic so it can serve as a behavior to model and can be used by various communities to develop effective management or conflict resolution skills. There was a lot of energy and positive feedback around that when we had talked about it previously. And then looking at particular topics, some of which Commissioner Damsky mentioned, although we have addressed some of things around anti-Semitism in group community forums that were around other areas, we also did talk in our planning committee meeting about a topic related to anti-Semitism. We also talked about anti-Black hate incidents and crimes, since the Department of Justice consistently finds that anti-Black bias is the most common bias motivation of hate crimes incidents events each year in our state based on the data. And then also looking at LGBTQ plus Two-Spirit community, a forum to share information about the disproportionate impacts of hate on the LGBT plus community, particularly the lack of data on hate against the trans community. So those are all things that we have been discussing and talking about. Some of the locations that we have thought about, taking into account where we've been before: the Bay Area, Riverside County, or the Inland Empire. I know, Chair Levin, you are particularly passionate about us going to the Inland Empire. So we talked about that, maybe even Palm Springs, to continue to look at rural communities because of the success we've had there, in particular the forum that we had last year in Reading and how successful that was, and continuing to look at work that is happening in rural communities across the state. Also, possibly going to a border community, not necessarily San Diego, but somewhere in the Imperial Valley, and the impacts of hate that are having, given what's the atmosphere that we are operating in along the border. So those are some of the locations we've talked about. And then in terms of the time of the year, we've talked about a couple things. One, we know California versus Hate is going to host a summit at some point. And so we've talked about doing a community forum in conjunction with that. Also doing a forum during United Against Hate Week, which happens in October. And if we were to do something in the Inland Empire, and particularly in Riverside County, if there's a way for us to do something related to Pride, because Pride in Palm Springs is in November. And if we were going to focus anything on the LGBT community in particular in that part of the state, that would be something for us to consider. So those are all the things that we have been thinking about and talking about. We are really trying to tie the forums to the data, or to data that we do not have. So how do we lift up our policy recommendations and the things that we're learning in the data, but also if there are gaps in our data collection, how can we use the forums to do that too? So it is an ambitious plan by the Community Forum Subcommittee, but it's also, we want to make sure that we're trying to plan for the whole year. I know that there have been some challenges with commissioners being able to attend. And so we're trying to get ahead of that and plan those topics for the year and go back to the reports that we've done and the recommendations that we've made so we continue to amplify those. That is our report. And I would love to hear your reactions, feedback, so like we could take that back to the committee and have that conversation. Commissioner Che, I saw your hand first.
Actually, if I may, I'm just going to have our
Sure.
discussions following.
Oh, that's right.
If that's
Sorry, Chair
that's
Levin.
okay.
Sure.
But so I saw Vice Chair Damsky and Commissioner Che with their hands up. So we will make sure to take their questions at the conclusion of this section of the agenda. But I want to thank you so much. And yes, underserved communities should totally be an area of our community fora. And I just want to just give you a heartfelt thank you on this. So we're going to then move on if that is okay. And then after the chair statement, anybody that wants to comment from the public or the commissioners will have an opportunity to do so. So thank you, if I may. I'm going to begin my chair statement with an urgent plea. We urgently meet here today to expose a shadow that has fallen upon the fundamental values of our nation. We are witnessing an intentional, calculated effort. I'd appreciate the PowerPoint up, if that's okay. If folks have the PowerPoint ready. Thank you. We are witnessing an intentional, calculated effort. No, I get the PowerPoint with my graphics. That's not it. There we go. Thank you. We're witnessing an intentional, calculated effort to redefine what the law means and what it means to be American, moving away from a promise of liberty and equality for all and towards a darker, narrower vision rooted in falsehoods, prejudice, division, and fear. I am speaking of the actions, rhetoric, and policies of the current administration in Washington. This is not something I take great joy in, as I am a lifelong independent, because I wanted to make sure my community activities, as well as my research, was bipartisan. So this is not something that I relish. But we cannot ignore the blatant use of white nationalist imagery and language emanating from the highest levels of government. It is not subtle, and it is no longer behind closed doors. When federal departments, specifically the Homeland Security and Labor, use social media to echo phrases like "which way, American man," which has a bigoted background to it, or "we'll have our home again," these are directly taken from things that those of us, I know Dr. Southers will be familiar with these things, taken from white nationalist sources, okay? They're not engaging in patriotic promotion. They are knowingly echoing, or at best directly parroting, white supremacist anthems and literature. This is something I monitor consistently. And they're not coincidences, nor are they merely dog whistles, but rather the foundations of a white nationalist renaissance. And we not only see that in these images here, we see it in ones that I just refuse to put up, like the disgusting display of our former president and first lady as primates. How disgusting. What would we do with a child, with a teenager who did that in school? Our children are watching. Just last night during the State of the Union, there's been another attack against our Somali community. If we're not going to see leadership from the highest levels, then we'll see it at the local and state levels. And that is why I am so fortunate to have commissioners whose heart and empathy reflect mine as well. This is not an isolation. When we see an administration use and refuse to disavow language tied to cultural decline or invasion, they are painting fellow human beings as submissive threats. When it removes primarily our law-abiding neighbors, the veteran, ice cream man, parental cancer caregiver, breaks up families, and shoots to death our allies who are moms and VA nurses, we must peacefully push back and not give life to these disgusting false stereotypes that defy and divide our communities. So we gather here today for a moment of renewal and profound reflection, wrapped in the tapestry of a season that demands both solemn remembrance and courageous action. If we could go to the next slide. We begin with heavy hearts, recognizing the passing of a titan, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, a giant of the civil rights movement and a protege of Dr. King, and a bridge builder, despite some missteps, who taught us to keep hope alive and to believe that I am somebody. When I was a young child watching Sesame Street and I saw him on that, it had a profound impact on me. Later as an adult, when I got to see him speaking against apartheid in Washington, it also had a profound effect on me. And I know we have a very busy meeting today. But during Black History Month, we've seen a refusal by the Speaker of the House to acknowledge his decades of contributions. So I wanted to make sure here in California to show that we roll another way. I did it yesterday before the legislature, and I'm going to do it today. Reverend Jackson showed us that our coalitions, our rainbow coalitions, must be broad, inclusive, malleable, and unbreakable. He taught us that the struggle for justice is not a sprint, but a relay. And he has now passed the baton to us and our young compatriots. In that light, I'd like to recognize a marvelous Californian who carries out his words and deeds, and that is Mississippi-born Mary Scott Knoll, for her masterful decade of work mentoring, including myself, in the area of fair housing. And I want to congratulate her on her recent conference in San Diego at a time when fair housing itself, along with voting rights and other things, are coming under fire. So I want to salute very special Mother Mary Knox. Sorry. She's such a beautiful person. Mother Mary Scott Knoll, for your wonderful work, not only uplifting the African-American community, but all communities, including the unhoused. And it is fitting that we honor Reverend Jackson's legacy during Black History Month, which this year in 2026 celebrates the resilience and contributions of African Americans. We look back to march forward. As Reverend Vivian would say, we've been waiting for you. We must understand that our history is not just in books, but in our actions and in our allyship. The season of remembrance also calls to us across our communities. As we celebrate the Lunar New Year and Tet, we embrace the promise of new beginnings, prosperity, and the strength of cultural diversity. Yet we are also reminded of the bigotry and necessity of vigilance as pause to remember a dark domestic chapter of World War II, recognizing the Day of Remembrance for the Japanese imprisonment of families at concentration camps. A time when, as Reverend Jackson noted, fear was allowed to overrule constitutional rights. We also look to our brothers and sisters observing Ramadan, a time of fasting, reflection, and solidarity, and those observing Purim, a time of joy and courage in the face of persecution. In this Lenten season, as we move towards Easter, we're reminded of the power of resurrection, hope, and rising again. But we must also recognize that our state also embraces those of no faith. All these moments remind us that our faiths and fates are intertwined. Whether it is the fight for voting rights, the fight against hate crimes, or the fight for economic opportunity, this message remains with the same struggle. As Dr. King wrote in his letter from a Birmingham jail, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider within its bounds." These words resonate as much today as they did when he first uttered them in 1963. So let us honor the memory of Jesse L. Jackson, not with silence, but with actions. Let us continue to build coalitions that are as diverse as the humanity we seek to protect. And that includes, and must be stated out, the most oppressed and vulnerable amongst us, those who some are trying to make invisible, are trans kids, immigrants, people who speak a foreign language, the unhoused, those with disabilities, and many others. Let us continue to build these coalitions, keep hope alive. Every single one of my colleagues here demonstrates that every day, and I want to just convey my profound humility and gratitude for being able to work with you and hopefully, as chair, not go first, but to elevate those who I share this daunting task with. My heart is with you all, and thank you. With that, I would just like to make sure to remind people that if you are a victim of hate, please report the incident. First, though, I want to make sure that those who are interested can sign up for the Commission's listserv. And you can receive announcements from our Commission meetings and community fora. So if Kevin, if you'd be kind enough to put that in our link. Also, as a reminder, please, if you are a victim, go to California versus Hate. You can see the contact information at the bottom of the page. I also want to remind you about the free services available for our communities through the California Civil Rights Department's Community Conflict Resolution Unit. If your community is experiencing heightened fear, conflict, or tensions because of discriminatory practices, hate incidents, or hate crimes, the Community Conflict Resolution Unit may be able to assist. CREW offers a range of conflict resolution services to help our diverse communities, and it's free, voluntary, and confidential. So thank you so much. And with that in mind, I want to now go to, and sorry about getting emotional, I'm my mother's son. God bless her soul. If we could go, who loved all people. And that is how we should lead. To hear a president, and I apologize, but if not us, then who? I'm not a political partisan, but to go after immigrants like that requires us to plant our bucket, as Booker Washington said, where we're at. And that's in our local communities where our leadership shines. 1,000 candles, 1,000,000 candles, allyship, and protection of people who we care about. That's how California rolls. So with that, I want to turn this over to commission discussion. Kevin, do we have any discussion about any of the subcommittee presentations, the vice chair, or my presentation? Please, the floor is to my fellow commissioners, and I know that we had Commissioner Che and Vice Chair Adamski. I did not see who had gone first, so I will go with just Vice Chair, because she's, I guess, the Vice Chair, and then Commissioner Che, both two incredible and esteemed colleagues. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Levin. I want to thank you so much for your comments and say that the emotions you bring to the passion of the subjects you talk about really speaks to how deeply you care about these issues, and I appreciate that you don't hide that from the world. I wanted to comment on Commissioner Roybell's report for I forget the name of your committee, but I know it's about creating events. You had mentioned the possibility of doing a forum somewhere in Imperial County, I believe, talking about border issues. And I want to reflect that in my position as a water district director, I've spent considerable time in Imperial County talking with farmers there who are deeply concerned about immigrants not being able to show up to do the work in the fields. What most people are not aware of, and some are, is that the Imperial Valley is considered our nation's winter salad bowl. Almost all of the fresh produce everywhere available in this country in the winter months comes from Imperial County. So, so that's just a little bit of information for you. I would really support doing some work in Imperial County. And if I can help you with any connections there through the farm community, let me know. I'd be happy to put those together for you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Vice Chair Adamski. That's very much appreciated.
Wow. Thank you. Commissioner Che.
Yes, thank you so much. My question is also directed at Commissioner Roybal. Thank you so much for the exhaustive list of issue areas and topics and considerations. I really appreciate that, and especially planning for the whole year to maximize our participation. One idea that I wondered if it's already in the works is if we could think about this intersectionally. So if we are to go to different regions, we could also focus on the populations there, learn about what practices are actually working, and love the idea of also bringing in local elected officials as well, so we can learn about more of the coalitions and the infrastructure that I think is so important, or lack thereof. So that's just a consideration. And then could you elaborate on the topic of law enforcement? I don't think I caught what the essence of that forum would focus on.
Sure. Is that all right if I respond, Chair Levin, to Commissioner Che's question?
Absolutely. Please do. Please do.
One of the things that we've discussed is around law enforcement is focusing on or highlighting counties in the state where there is underreporting or no reporting of hate incidents or crimes against people based on race, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, and or disability, as a way to put a spotlight on that, but also to highlight some of our policy recommendations. So we know, like, one of the conversations that we had was looking at the CHIS data and seeing that there were, and the California versus hate data, and seeing that there were definitely reports of hate incidents or activities, but there was not necessarily a corresponding law enforcement report or law enforcement data that matched those incidents. And so the staff did a plot I can't remember what it's called now. Where we looked at what those two data sets said and where there was definitely disparities. And so that kind of informed our conversation around that. I mean, we know that there have been historically some counties that we know there are incidents there, and there's just been no data coming from law enforcement. And even in our own conversations around the stuff that we've done around post and the training around that, and even like getting to what you just said, Commissioner Chair, around the intersectional data, is if someone it reports and they are API, have a disability, and happen to be queer, right, or LGBT, sometimes we only get one piece of that data. Like we don't understand that maybe they were targeted for multiple of those reasons. Um, and so looking at that too and how we can get better data. So get better data from like hold up folks who are reporting correctly or who are doing a good job of reporting and amplifying that, but also looking at where we're just not getting any data at all, but we know from the CHIS and California versus hate data that those things are occurring.
Thank you so much. If I could just add, boy, it's so great to be around people that kind of finish your sentences, because I really wanted to make sure that at a time when people are being erased or trying to be made invisible, that we give them visibility. There was one issue that I've been tossing around in my head, and I can't really discuss it outside of these meetings, and that is I wanted to also do something related to immigrants. I was in my head going, well, should we go to a place like LA? But we've been there a lot, a border community, et cetera, as well. But the thing that really popped into my head was whatever we do, we have to take into account that some of the most affected residents of our state might be afraid to actually show up at a place or to go even online. So I'm sorry about posing a greater question, but I just wanted to make sure I got that thing in, because that was what was kind of preventing me from saying, well, we should just do X, Y, or Z, because of the just horrendous way that people are being seized, not only off the streets, but from places where we thought people would be safe. So that was something I just wanted to address, and there was something you said that also resonated. We just had an example where an LGBTQ immigrant was deported to another country that criminalizes being gay. That's the level of cruelty that we're seeing. So right on, my beloved former chair, I'm at your service.
Chairman, can I say one thing about that?
Please.
That was in our conversation with the staff around how if we did something related to, we had a conversation about doing something related to immigrants, and in particular, a conversation about doing something on the border is, it's impossible in this moment for us to guarantee people's safety, right? Given what's happening and given that some of the most ardent enforcers of federal immigration law are actually based in the El Centro region in the Imperial Valley, as I think Commissioner Damsky and I know very well, given our proximity to that particular zone. Like that is something that certainly, we want to create these opportunities so that we can have this dialogue, but we also want to make sure that we can have it, given like what you just talked about. So that is certainly on our minds. And that is true in all of these pieces that we've talked about. We don't want to create a situation for instance, if we did a focused community forum on anti-Semitism, we don't want it to create an environment where folks who feel unsafe in that, like there's a lot of those kinds of considerations for us to think about. And and part of it is getting your feedback has been very valuable. And so that, even if we decide to place do a physical community forum versus doing something remotely, like on the law enforcement question, we thought we might want to do that remotely so that people can participate from all over the state and that we can have perspectives from all over the state in terms of that law enforcement piece. So like all of that is kind of going into our thinking around it so that we can, create the best forums possible to address the needs that the commission has identified and that amplify the things that are in our reports. So
Thank you. And if I may, if you'd also consider, and I don't, and maybe I am not putting enough lines around it, but I wanted to make it amorphous, and that is some of the fora we just weren't able to get a lot of commissioners. So if folks want to do kind of a mini forum somewhere, I will go anywhere in the state. That might be something we should consider. I don't want to propose
well, and I think
marble, but please.
sure. I mean, the other thing we've talked about too is how do we, I think you have done a great job as chair of making sure that we incorporate presentations into our regular commission meetings. And so how do we use that as a way to also amplify some of these things that we've talked about with the fora? So I think that, certainly is something we're thinking about too, because, there is, unfortunately, there is many topics that we could spend a lot of time on because of the prevalence of hate incidents and activity in our state. And how do we use all the vehicles available to us to highlight those things?
Yes, and including something that you helped pioneer, which is maybe working with other commissions as well.
Yeah, and we did talk about that as well.
Yeah, of course, of course. But thank you. And do we have any other? I'm sorry. Are you done, Chair Roybal?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other commissioners that would like to be heard, or the wonderful staff from the Civil Rights Department?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Then with that said, I'd like to go to public comment.
I'm sorry, I was a little late in raising my hand.
No,
May I
I'm
speak?
sorry. No, please. We'll go to public comment after our esteemed vice chair takes the
Thank you, Chair Levin. I want to thank Commissioner Suthers for your very kind remarks about working with me last year with the video that we put together for Assembly Bill 449. I'm only sorry that you and I did not get to spend more time together personally working on that. It's been a joy working with you, and look forward to the rest of our months together on this commission. Thank you.
Thank you as well. But if we're going to thank people, I would then I cannot not do it. And I know we have time constraints, but I've been getting the meetings done early every time. So I'm going to take a moment then and just thank our Dr. Goodsell, who on the other training videos was just so integral. And it was just such a pleasure working with you on that this past year. So I just want to remind people, we have wonderful commissioners and I love them all, but we also have a wonderful staff. And I just like to, just make the curtain go a little bit to show the wonderful work that they do as well. So thank you, Dr. Good. Okay. Do we have any other commissioner comments? Fantastic. Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
We do, yes. The first person I will be unmuting is Wendy Bocata. Hope that I'm saying your name correctly. You will have 2 minutes and your time begins now. You can go ahead and unmute. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I am speaking on item 6D, resources, support, and response. Given the immense increase in anti-Semitic incidents over the last year, it is so important the state has the right resources to help its citizens, and so important that this commission exists. So thank you all for your service and for paying attention to the resources provided to help. Imagine you or a loved one are targeted by an act of anti-Semitism. Imagine it's your child who is a victim. In a moment of fear, you turn to the state's California versus Hate resource page for help, expecting support from a neutral, professional, or civil rights organization. Instead, you are directed to a political action committee, a partisan 501c4 named Bend the Arc Jewish Action, which engages in lobbying and political advocacy. A political action committee, a PAC, exists for one reason: to elect candidates and influence policy. When you report an incident to a PAC, you are no longer a victim seeking justice. You become content. Your story will be filtered through a political lens, used when it helps their agenda, and buried when it doesn't. Furthermore, when you report to a PAC, you have no protections of anonymity. You are handing sensitive private information to a group that has no legal obligation
You have 30
to protect
seconds.
you,
Thank you.
to protect your identity or your career. Using a PAC doesn't help the victim. It just turns the victim's report into a campaign ad. Let's keep reporting where it belongs, in the hands of experienced reporting experts, not the hands of political strategists. Please immediately review the selection of Bend the Arc as a resource and turn to well-established Jewish communal and civil rights organizations to help those who have been victims of anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Thank you. I should note, just for factual accuracy, there are 14 Jewish organizations or chapters that are listed on the California versus Hate page. Let me also just point out that that is a different organization than the commission. Apparently, I believe Bend the Arc is one of 14 that were listed on that page, but I'm going to just defer any further comment because it's really run by an entity that I am not a part of. So, but I want to thank you for that, and I also want to just say one thing that is very important. We are here today because of a shared, undeniable imperative, and that is to fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism and to protect all those within the Jewish community who are victims of hatred. This stunning rise in bigotry is not a distant threat. It is an urgent, present danger that affects us all. And I hope that we can have a diverse group of folks that will respond to any victimization that we see directed against my brothers and sisters in the Jewish community. So I want to thank you so much for all comments that come in. Do we have any other public comments, Rebecca, on Zoom?
Yes, we do. And I have just allowed Carol Irvine to speak. Carol, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm speaking also to letter D. At Irvine City Hall in 2023 and 24, bloody dolls meant to be dead babies were hung on sticks over my family's head as we sat in the chambers. Over 50 police officers were deployed because the hate speech in the room was so vile. When my daughter approached the microphone to speak, someone in the chamber chanted at her, "Hitler didn't finish the job." As a result of this horrible experience, I called California versus Hate and participated in their interviews, only to be offered therapy by the state. No accountability, no investigation, no deterrence. Which brings me to my concern. I've since learned that Bend the Arc, a 501c4 political advocacy organization, was selected as the sole statewide Jewish anti-Semitism. Let me say that again. The only one representing the entire state of California on California versus Hate website. I also looked them up. They are not registered to do work in the state of California. They are, in fact, out of New York. So we need to ask some really straightforward questions here. What is the selection process for what's on California versus state? What criteria was used? Was there community consultation? Are there partner organizations? Are partner organizations required to align with state anti-Semitism frameworks? Do other minority communities have political action committees serving as their designated hate reporting resources? And a question that is deeply personal to me. When I reported my family's experience, spent hours on the phone with California versus Hate, was my story then shared or accessible to a PAC? When a victim reports to California versus Hate, they should know who receives their information, how it's used, whether it's protected from political advocacy, and most importantly, they should feel safe in reporting, which I no longer do. When the state designates a PAC as its Jewish hate resource without transparent vetting, published criteria, or periodic reviews,
I'm sorry, you have 30 seconds.
it undermines trust. I'm asking the commission to relook at their resources, support, and responses to hate. I reported hate. I did my part. Now I'm asking the state to do its part. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other public comment, Rebecca, on Zoom?
Yes, we do. Amy Bush, I hope that I'm saying your name correctly. I am allowing you to speak. You have 2 minutes. Amy, we can't hear you. You would have to unmute yourself.
And let's give her the full clock. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. I'm also here to talk about item 6D, and I'm also here to talk about Bend the Arc. I'm here to discuss one of the resources on the California versus Hate website and the structural inconsistency with the state of California's approach to combating anti-Semitism, one that undermines policy coherence and public trust. In April of 2024, the California Civil Rights Department designated Bend the Arc Jewish Action as a statewide Jewish anti-Semitism resource on its resource page. In October 2025, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 715, directing public schools to rely on the IHRA-informed U.S. national strategy to counter anti-Semitism when identifying and responding to anti-Semitism. On December 31st, a federal court upheld the law in Pritchett versus Bonta, affirming that combating anti-Semitism in schools falls squarely within the government's authority. The legislature has spoken, the governor has signed, the federal judiciary has affirmed. IHRA is a national framework embedded in California law, yet the organization designated as the statewide anti-Semitism resource is publicly and repeatedly opposed to the IHRA codification. This is not a question of political ideology. It's a question of administrative alignment. When the
Sorry, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. When the legislature adopts a framework, executive agencies must ensure that designated partners responsible for implementing or responding to that framework are not actively campaigning against it. Otherwise, we create confusion for our schools, inconsistency for communities, and erosion of public confidence in civil rights enforcement. Thank you for your time and your good work.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other public comment on Zoom, Rebecca?
Yes, we do. Julie Marzouk, I'm allowing you to speak. You will have 2 minutes after you unmute yourself.
Wonderful. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Julie Marzouk, and I was a longtime legal services attorney in immigration, and I am a civil rights advocate. But today I am speaking as a victim of anti-Jewish hate. I too called Cal versus Hate, and I did so in good faith. I reported how a group of individuals shouted at me that Jews are pedophiles and rapists, that Hitler didn't finish the job, and that Jews are baby killers. When I called Cal versus Hate, my concerns were dismissed. But as an attorney, I insisted that my complaint be formally recorded and evaluated. I waited for 5 months for an investigative interview from the California Civil Rights Department. Shortly after my call, I received a letter stating that the matter would not be investigated. I appealed the decision. The appeal was rejected. My concern is about the process, and I believe that this commission can correct the oversight. I appreciated, Commissioner Levin, your comment just a second ago about how these organizations are related. And that is exactly what I'm calling to inquire about. What is the legal standard or the common referral process that is being applied to how calls are evaluated? What oversight does the California Commission on Against Hate have on Cal versus Hate's partner organizations and on the Civil Rights Department? California versus Hate is a significant investment of California tax dollars. I believe in the mission of Cal versus Hate and the goodwill and hard work of this commission. I hope that we can work together to make Cal versus Hate the transparent, user-friendly, and functionally responsive system that it was designed to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, let me remind you that that is a separate entity, but I will make sure that the various concerns that were discussed today are aired. So thank all for their comments. Do we have any other additional comments on Zoom?
Yes, currently we have one more. Sandy Lester, I'm allowing you to talk and you will have 2 minutes after you unmute.
Thank you very much. California made a clear decision in 2025 when it adopted AB 715, aligning the state with the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism, which recognizes that modern Jew hatred can include certain forms of demonization or denial of the Jewish state. This is not about silencing criticism of Israel. It is about recognizing when criticism crosses into delegitimization, double standards, or collective blame directed at Jews. The legislature passed it, the governor signed it, a federal court upheld it. IRA is now the framework guiding how to identify anti-Semitism. And yet, California Civil Rights Department designated Bend the Arc as the state's sole statewide Jewish anti-Semitism resource on its hate incident hotline, without a public process, without published criteria, and without broad consultation. This matters because Bend the Arc has built its advocacy around opposing the IRA definition.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Fighting anti-Semitism requires moral seriousness. It requires listening to the communities affected, and it requires ensuring the organizations entrusted with responding to Jewish hate actually recognize when it appears. At a time of rising anti-Semitism, we need clarity and consistency. When the state adopts one framework but elevates a partner that rejects it, that inconsistency doesn't protect Jews. It recreates confusion and makes Jews feel less safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do want to point out something, and this is just me speaking personally. My best friend wrote the IHRA, and he himself finds it to be a valuable tool, but is opposed to it for being used in an enforcement mechanism. So we have an interesting diversity within the Jewish community and indeed California at large with regard to which definitions are used in different contexts. But what I would like to say is that just speaking as myself, and as a Jewish American whose father was imprisoned by the Nazis, I am extraordinarily concerned about acts of violence and intimidation against my Jewish brothers and sisters. But however, to claim that there is a single Jewish voice with what constitutes anti-Semitism and not looking at those voices that include scholars and rabbis and activists with respect to another definition would silence them. So I am not here right now to take positions one way or another, but other than to say that your opinions are important to me, as are those who may disagree. So if we can move on, do we have any other public comment?
No other public comment via Zoom.
All right. Kevin, do we have an emailed public comment?
No email public comment regarding commission updates.
Okay. Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
All right. I would like to then move to discussion and election of chair. And I will now defer to my dear colleague, Dr. Watts.
Thank you, Chair Levin. Good morning, everyone. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as everyone knows, this is the first meeting of the calendar year, which means that we have elections for chair and vice chair. I'll go over the responsibilities of each position and then go over the election process. The responsibilities of the chair, as many of you know, but just as a reminder, are to coordinate regularly with CRD staff to stay abreast of the day-to-day operations of the commission, set meeting schedules and agendas, manage each meeting of the commission, familiarize themselves with and apply Robert's Rules of Order during the commission meetings, represent the commission before external entities as necessary and where possible. The chair must also ensure the commission is in compliance with the applicable laws, regulations, and policies, including Bagley-Keene and the Public Records Act. And of course, upon a majority vote of the commission may expand the authority of the chair. So those are the chair responsibilities. Next slide, please. The chair will serve until the first meeting of 2027. Next slide. I will just review the nomination and election procedure, and then we will actually start the nomination and election. So for the nomination procedure, step one is that a member interested in being chair must first announce their willingness to be chair. Thereafter, other members can nominate another member to be eligible to receive votes for chair, or they may nominate themselves. A member may nominate more than one candidate, and if agreed upon by a majority of the members present, a candidate may give a short statement explaining why they should be elected. That statement is 3 minutes maximum. The next slide, please. Once we get to voting and we start the election, this is how we'll proceed. Members may vote for only one member. If no member receives greater than 50% of the vote, a second round of voting shall occur between the two nominees who received the greatest number of votes in the first round. If there's a tie, the CRD director or their delegate shall break the tie at this meeting or in the next publicly noticed meeting, and the candidate with the most votes becomes chair and assumes duties at the end of this meeting. Okay, any questions about the nomination or election procedure before we start?
Dr. Watts, you said that in the slide that a person may nominate themselves, but I thought a person may not nominate themselves.
Yeah, we made that change, I believe last year. At first, okay. that was the case.
Okay, the election or the stuff that was sent out in advance still has the not language, so we should make sure that that is consistent. That's why I'm raising that.
Thanks for letting me know. Commissioner Suthers.
Sorry, and just to be clear, we cannot nominate until a person expresses their desire to be the chair.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up, so let's get started. Next slide, please. So we will start at step one. A member interested in being chair must first announce their willingness to be chair. Is anyone interested in becoming chair?
I would.
Great. Chair Levin. Okay, fantastic. We have, Commissioner Suthers.
I'm trying to go in accordance with the procedure. So then I can now nominate Chair Levin or not?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So we're moving on to step two at this point. Yes. So thank you, Commissioner Suthers. Okay.
You're welcome.
And you could give a short statement, Chair Levin. You are the only nominee.
I have a procedural question,
Yes.
Director Watts. Does the nomination need to be seconded?
Sure, we can do that. I don't know.
Then I will second that nomination. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great. And then now we are on step 4. So Chair Levin, if you'd like to give a short statement, feel free.
This is not about this being an honor of a lifetime, which it is. It's more like being the soccer dad to make sure that all his players get on the field with their cleats, their protective gear, and their juice drinks and grapes, if you will, but in a much grander scale. This is a year where allyship matters. And over the past year, I've tried hard with that, whether it was monthly meetings with CBOs, either across the state or the nation, meeting with other commissions, the Global Summit, and extensive monitoring. I think it's important for a chair to elevate, not take the spotlight away. That's why I wanted to make sure to institute having the top community people and experts come not only to the fora, but to the real estate that's offered at these meetings. And again, there's just so much more to do. We have trans kids that are suffering. They're shutting down the medical treatments across the state, LA, San Diego, the Bay Area. We're seeing young children being torn from their families. We also saw the power of allyship in Minnesota with people who don't necessarily belong to the most vulnerable or oppressed communities standing up and getting shot to death. It's important for us to roll up our sleeves. So what I hope to do is do this work of not only uplifting my fellow commissioners and the staff, but also the voices from communities. So I'll focus on 3 clear pillars. First, amplifying the voices of the targeted, making sure then secondarily that we can close the data gap and enhance the accountability, including some things we heard today. And third, proactive education and prevention. These are the important things that I want to do, as well as try to work on just one thing, and I'll close with this. We have such grief and such conflict from all over the world. I'm not someone who is the most credentialed, but I learned from the best with regard to conflict resolution, particularly in interfaith. And that is what I want to end with. I want to bring all communities together. And one thing that I've noticed, it's not just away from communities, but within communities where we see sometimes divisions. So I want to thank you for this. And also, if for some reason you find that I stumble, I will gladly, on a majority vote, resign at any time. My real goal is to bring folks together. And at a time when a lack of compassion is considered courage, the real courage is empathy and standing with all the residents of California. There are no illegal people here. There are just California residents, or if you're a person of faith, children of God. And that's who we have to protect, irrespective of whether you have a faith or none at all. That is our civic mission. And I want to thank you so much, and just close in telling you how much I completely admire and adore all my colleagues, past and present. Sharin isn't here, so and neither is Cece, but I want to thank them in particular as well. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chair Levin. Next slide, please. All right, so we could start the election. Could you go back? Great. I think just to formalize this, we only have one candidate, but I think it would be good to vote anyway. So we can start voting now. I'll call the roll. Chair Levin.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Vice Chair Damsky.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Che.
Yes.
Commissioner Cuellar, Commissioner Roybal.
Yes.
Commissioner Salcedo, Commissioner Suthers.
Yes.
All right, that's 4 votes in favor of Chair Levin, and congratulations, Chair Levin. You will be chair for another year.
Congratulations, Chair Levin.
Thank you. I need every one of you.
Mazel tov.
Bye,
All right,
Don.
we should, yeah. Could we just go back one slide, Rebecca? I think did we have public comment? We should take public comment. There we go. Right, so we should take public comment after we vote. So I am looking, do we have public comments on Zoom? No. Do we have any emailed public comments? No. Do we have any public comments in the room, Selene?
No public comment in the room.
Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the discussion and election of vice chair. Next slide, please. So the responsibilities of the vice chair are to assist the chair with fulfilling their duties, including fulfilling tasks delegated by the chair, serve as chair if the chair is unable to do so, and also familiarize themselves with Robert's Rules of Order and applicable laws, regulations, and policies, including Bagley-Keene and the Public Records Act. Next slide, please. The vice chair will serve until the first meeting of 2027. Next slide. And the nomination and election procedure is identical for the vice chair. So with that, I will, yes, thank you. We can start with step 1, which is a member interested in being vice chair must first announce their willingness to be vice chair. Is anyone interested in being vice chair? I see a hand raised. Commissioner Che? Is that an expression of interest?
Yes, I'm just making sure that there is no one else who has expressed interest at this time. And I think it's an opportunity to work closely with Chair Levin in supporting the goals of the commission.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Che as vice chair.
And I would like to second that motion.
Darn. I
Fantastic.
feel like on Jeopardy where I didn't get my finger like fast enough.
All right. I just want to confirm if anybody else is interested in becoming vice chair. Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, fantastic. So we have one nominee, Commissioner Che. And Commissioner Che, would you be interested in giving a short statement?
Ever so brief. I think I had shared that I really believe in the work of the commission. And when I have an opportunity to step up and support the work of the commission, I will always seek to do that and look forward to, if given the opportunity, to support Chair Levin in advancing our important goals and our work. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Che, and thank you for volunteering. Next slide, please. Oh, I think we have to go back, actually. We'll go to the election procedure. So we'll go ahead and vote on this just to formalize it. And I will start with Chair Levin.
A vigorous and heartfelt yes.
Vice Chair Adamski.
That's yes, and I look forward to hearing more from Commissioner Che in her vice chair position.
Commissioner Che.
Oh, I think I should abstain. Yes.
Yeah, entirely up to you. Commissioner Cuellar, Commissioner Roybal,
Yes.
Commissioner Salcedo, Commissioner Suthers.
Yes.
Great. So we have 4 commissioners voting in favor of Commissioner Che as vice chair. Congratulations, Commissioner Che. You are now vice chair, Che.
Congratulations, vice chair-elect.
Heartiest congrats. Just
Congratulations.
just a stellar leader in our state.
I will try to do my best in following Commissioner Damsky's model leadership and service as vice chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we will move on to public comment. If there are public comments on this agenda item, we will take them now. I don't see Zoom comment. I don't see emailed public comment. Zelendi, do we have any comments in the room?
No comments in the room.
All right, then I will turn it back over to you, Chair Levin.
Thank you so much. And I just want to just briefly, before going into agenda item 9, thank a very special person, Vice Chair Damsky. We don't have time to go over what a sometimes invisible but incredible resource you've been for me. And I would hope that you reconsider your staying on the commission if possible, and Otani staying with the Dodgers for a long time too. I also want to congratulate Commissioner Che, Vice Chair Che. Oh my gosh. You're more special than you know. So thank you, and it's going to be such a pleasure to work with you. I will come up and confer with you anytime. So thank you so much. We're going to go to discussion of civil rights and civil liberties now. At the Fair Housing Consortium recently in San Diego, I addressed some legal issues. By the way, not as commissioner, just as myself. And one of the things that came up during these discussions was the fact that we saw 22 out of 24 emergency appeals by the current administration get approved by the Supreme Court. Now, there was recently a decision relating to tariffs. I am very concerned, and just want to put that out there, and I don't want to take a lot of time because I always say I like to get folks out before 11:30 or 11:45 if possible. But this is very important. We are seeing now an expansion of the use of various, or at least the threat of it, of various laws, such as the Aliens Act, going back over 200 years, and the Insurrection Act as well. In addition to seeing two citizens killed while operating defensively in Minnesota, and there was just a report of a third in Texas. This kind of conduct is a risk to our residents here in California. And I am very concerned about 3 things. One, the use of either antiquated or inapplicable laws or stopgap measures that aren't meant to be used in a manner to cruelly target our immigrant residents. The Cato Institution just came out with a report showing how many billions of dollars immigrants contribute to our American economy. So the important thing that we have on our side as a commission are facts, research, and precedent. And I intend to continually bring that and elevate your voices. So I want to make sure that we look at that with regard to civil liberties in the immigrant enforcement area. Also with regard to freedom of speech. I hear a lot from my brothers and sisters in a variety of communities, the Jewish American community, and also the Muslim and Arab communities and Palestinian communities about being targeted. As I mentioned about Ms. Ozturk, who, if I want to correct now, upon her release from her unlawful detention, she was awarded her PhD. So I want to look at issues relating to that as well, freedom of speech. And lastly, but not entirely, threats that I think may be coming with respect to the fair application of our upcoming elections in the state, which are, by the Constitution, a state-derived obligation, not a federal one. So I want to make sure and I'm very concerned about this when we see all these lies about non-citizens voting and things like that. It's important to recognize that facts are on our side. But now that I have just such a wonderful number of colleagues, this is not, although yes, I do have a law degree, but you don't have to have a law degree to show up, have a heart, and recognize what it is to be a civic resident of our state. So I want to encourage everyone to participate in these subsequent agenda items relating to civil liberties. I am going to now defer to my colleagues on these important questions, and again reiterate that these examples that I brought up now are inclusive, but not the entirety of the kinds of deprivations that we are seeing. So thank you. Do we have any commission discussion? Kevin, do any commissioners have their hands up?
No commissioners with hands up.
Okay. Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
No email public comment related to this agenda item.
Thank you. Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room in Sacramento?
No public comment in the room.
All right, fantastic. We will move now to the next agenda item, which is number 10, discussion of adding homelessness to hate crime laws. What I would like to do is to, if possible, see if any of my colleagues have any comments before I make a very brief statement on it.
Chair Levin, I know we moved on to this one, but I think something that just struck me in the thing that you said previously is the environment that we're operating in is challenging. And I just wonder in the future, and I could take this back to the community forum subcommittee for Regina and I for Commissioner Cuellar and I to talk about. There's so much misinformation about how to show up, right? And and so much fear about being on the street if you care so passionately about something, whatever the subject is, and exercising your First Amendment rights, no matter if you're a citizen or not. I just want to verbalize that it's a really, we often did in our work talk about hate incidents and activity that is perpetrated by really malign actors. And it feels in this moment our own federal government is a malign actor. And in particular against already marginalized communities. So not only do we have to, protect Californians who are subjects of hate, violence, and activity already, but now it's almost like our own government, like it is this like other overlay. Like if there is an enforcement action here in our state that targets residents of our state, it's like it's a whole other layer of a much more powerful force. And I only say that because I think that as we think about data collection, et cetera, I can't even believe this is going to come out of my mouth, but that is there a data subset of residents of our state being victims of our own government, right? Like that, it's something I think that for many of us that was never a thought that would enter our minds. And now I feel like something that we should talk about in the future maybe is there a way to kind of collect that information through like the enforcement actions that have happened in LA, the threat of enforcement actions, I don't even know what's happening in the San Joaquin Valley, right? Or as Commissioner Damsky talked about earlier, in the Imperial Valley, right? Like if there is a ratcheted up and there are probably things that we just don't even know that are happening because they're under the radar of the media, or they're in parts of the state that are not necessarily paid attention to by media that is in the urban centers. So I only say that because I think that is something that we should keep an eye on, because it's something that we should probably include as part of our future collections of data where we can get it, or to figure out a way to collect it through community-based organizations that we are in partnership with.
Thank you. What a day we are in when we have a chair emeritus talking about our residents, including the most vulnerable among us, being victimized by the federal government. And maybe one of the things we should do, I don't know, is perhaps brings, let's get Shirin back and have a 4-up at Stanford Law School or so. I don't know, but I am all ears, and I want to just convey to my dear colleagues, I'm at your service. I'll go anywhere in the state. I'll meet with any one of you, as long as it follows whatever administrative and statutory rules that exist under Bagley-Keene. But thank you, Chair Roybal. Yeah, we're not going to sit on our hands when we're seeing the immigrant ice cream man, people who are providing cancer caregiving for their parents or kids, and then the relative dies. What kind of abject cruelty? So at the very least, merging these real voices with experts on law and data saying that 86% of those who were deported had no criminal records, 6% in those LA sweeps, 2 and 3% in the Minneapolis and some other areas. So thank you so much. And well, I was going to say something really kind about you, but I'll save it for another time when I take you to dinner. All right.
Sorry, Chair Levin, may I comment on
Please.
the data piece,
Yes.
if I may? So I really appreciate Commissioner Roybal and Chair Levin's support of documentation of the impacts of the brutal immigration enforcement efforts. And I think while the nation and the world has been watching what's happening in Minnesota, this is happening in California, perhaps not in the same way, but every day families are being separated. One of the things that Stop API Hate is doing is we are looking at the deportation policy projects data, which is publicly made available. And what they are able to do is to share information about who is being deported, and we can identify from the national origin. It may not necessarily identify their ethnicity, because you have people who may have come from Thailand, but they're actually Lao. But you get a close understanding of who is being disproportionately impacted. So that is something that I wanted to lift up, that we're looking at, because I think that the way that this is happening is happening differently for some communities. And so I think data is really important because it helps us to understand who we need to engage with, how do we need to combat misinformation and disinformation. And of course, when we have elected officials that are painting entire groups, dehumanizing them and painting them as less than, there are all kinds of manifestations of that. So I do want to encourage that we also tap into those publicly available data sources to understand how communities are being impacted. And we're happy to share that information as well.
Absolutely. And also just to the extent that folks have news articles, studies, or anything, please send them to Alec. I don't think I'm allowed to get them directly. I don't know, but and I will make sure they're included in the updates. I don't have these updates out as like authored by me. I just want to make sure because there was one time when there was a terrible thing that happened with regard to a transgender student's family, and some of the folks at the commission meeting weren't aware of it. So I want to make sure that I update everyone when things go by my transom. That's all. So yes, please, and let me be an instrument, and Alec as well, to get these things done. And let me also reiterate that I will go anywhere in the state to, as long as it's not I think a fundraiser kind of event, to echo and support the primary voices from these diverse communities. So thank you so much, Commissioner Che. I am at your service.
Chair Levin, I have to hop off, unfortunately, but I want to qualify one thing that I said, which is what is happening now is the latest iteration of government government discrimination or government targeting of particular groups. I think we all know that our country, unfortunately, has a history of that in many of the communities that are represented on this commission have experienced that. And so I don't want to minimize that by any means and say that this is just the latest version. And unfortunately, it is a version with it seems a lot more behind it, and a lot more explicit, right? It's one thing to deny or to cast aside or to try to come up with some policy disagreements or some matter in time when the previous things that have happened, but it is such an explicit attack on communities, but I just wanted to qualify that. It was great to see all you, and congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you, but I want to take you to dinner. So we'll talk about that offline. Thank you so much. Do we have any other commissioner input? All right. If I may, I'm just going to move to the item 10. I just wanted to make sure, though, just because Chair Roybal is doing I'm going to tell you something. He's doing great stuff, not only here in California, but around the world. So I always like to defer if he has to run. So thank you for that. Next, we're going to shift back to item number 10, discussion of adding homeless to hate crime laws. I really want to make this short. I have a bunch of research that I will distribute to my colleagues again. And I'd like to just ask if any of the Civil Rights Department researchers can dig up the Senate study that was done about 25 years ago, where they found the astronomical victimization levels of homeless folks. And I just want to remind people that Mr. Whitehead's presentation, he was talking about people who were targeted not because they were just available being out in the street, but because of additional bias. And just yesterday, when I was leaving Sacramento, I heard a gentleman discuss how he was beaten and stabbed and a variety of things when he was homeless for about 10 months. So I just don't want to take the time now because I promised people who are on tight schedules. But what I would like to do is send some resource items and research over again and have the commission look at that. I know I promised Greg DeGier I would bring this up, and I can tell you that he is advocating adding the homeless to the hate crime and vulnerable victim laws in the state. But I promised him I'd put this on the agenda. But I have no further comments on that. I do want to speed things up. Do we have any commission discussion on this right now, Kevin?
No commissioners with their hands up.
Okay,
Actually, Commissioner or Vice Chair Damsky.
Oh, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is really important, and I want to thank you for bringing this issue forward to the Commission for consideration. I absolutely think that we should include people who are unhoused in this population. So that's my vote for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And in Russell and yours kind of hometown in the San Diego area, this stuff really had a spotlight on it about 20 years ago when there was films that were put in retail stores called bum fights, where folks were beaten, tied in duct tape, disabled folks who were put in shopping carts and rolled down hills and sustained injuries. And this was regarded as entertainment. So there are more than half a dozen states that cover this, and I think this is a discussion that we will have. And I want to thank not only you, but everyone here, because I know that the one thing that we share in common is we lead with our hearts. And in a time when we're seeing the federal government exhibit such a lack of compassion, it is astounding. And in the fair housing area as well. It's not just an immigrant, it's a cruelty that is taking place. And let me tell you something, to my Democratic brothers and sisters, I am not a Democrat. I'm a lifelong independent. The first time I made a donation to a political entity was so I could get in to see you get that award. But these measures, if you look at a variety of polling, are vastly unpopular. So this is not just a partisan thing. So thank you as well. Do we have any other comments from commissioners or Civil Rights Department? All right. If I may, Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
Yes, we do. Sam, I'm allowing you to talk. You'll have 2 minutes after you unmute.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you everybody for all your comments. So my name is Sam Caucus. I'm a former reporter for Asian Week, and I was also, when I lived in San Francisco, a member of the Break the Silence Coalition Against Anti-Asian Violence in the 1980s and the 1990s. And I just retired from a job as an investigator with the state of California, including the Civil Rights Department. And what I would like to point out to, I've just, while we'd had this meeting, I emailed a copy of a letter to the editor of the San Francisco Chronicle that was published on January 25th of this year, which basically raises the issue about gratuitous hate violence, where there's no insulting slur or symbol used in an incident. And so the incident that I posed in this letter is the one involving Vicha Ratanapakdi, an 84-year-old Thai gentleman who lived in this country since 1989, who was fatally assaulted, and he was basically thrown to the ground by a 18-year-old kid. And they didn't say that was hate violence, even though after the incident, the 18-year-old kid took a selfie with with the victim as he lay dying. I look at that as gratuitous violence, and the language that's in the FBI reporting criteria is overkill. If you do something to somebody, especially an elderly person who's vulnerable, and you're a more powerful person, in this case, a younger person who's over 6 feet tall and was, did a running start to do this, it should be investigated as a hate motivated incident. I think that this is one of these kind of criteria that we need to consider, because it's already on the FBI reporting criteria. And I know that it's on the reporting criteria for San Francisco and Alameda County, even though it may have been taken off, because I was one of the people who was with the Break the Silence Coalition who advocated for a very broad reporting mechanism. And I think we need to look at that with other groups. I'm not just talking about Asian Americans, but also homeless people, because besides reporting for Asian Week, I also freelance and wrote articles about Black residents.
Sam, I apologize. Your time is up.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we should just look at the whole thing about gratuitous violence where there's no symbol or slur used. And I'd be willing to talk more about it later on and, lend my expertise. Like when they leave a noose on the desks of Black workers in Alameda County, that's what kind of like got me started. I'm
I got it.
Asian.
No, thank you. And I
Okay,
apologize. It just would be
okay,
would be
no
unfair.
problem.
But I am not cutting you off
No
because of
problem.
any necessarily disagreeing with you. It's just I just try to be fair to everybody. So,
Sure.
but thank you, and just I just want to extend my deepest condolences with regard to that
Sure.
terrible attack on Vicha Ratan Pakadi. It was terrible and just horrific. Thank you so much. Do we have any other public comment?
No other public comment on Zoom.
All right. Do we have any public comment in the room? I'm sorry. Do we have any public comment that is emailed, Kevin?
No additional email public comment.
Thank you kindly. Do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
All right. Thank you so much. Then I will move on to number 11, discussion of requirements for hate crime training video. As we've noted, various folks associated with the commission have assisted just wonderfully so with the production of various training videos that will go out to California law enforcement. And I know that there are some issues with regard to how many times officers get to see them. They're certainly mandated with respect to folks in the academy. So what I'd like to do, just because we have a variety of people who've been involved, myself, Dr. Goodsell, Vice Chair Damsky, or wait, is it? No, I think you're still Vice Chair until the end of the meeting. Is that how it works? Vice Chair Damsky, Dr. Suthers. So I'd really like to have input from our folks here, and then I'll go to public comments. So do we have any commissioners or civil rights department gurus who would like to opine on this issue?
Yes, Vice Chair Damsky.
Please.
Thank you, Chair Levin, current and future Chair Levin. In my work with the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training to create our first video on Assembly Bill 449, one of the things we talked about is how the training actually happens. And I was frankly disappointed to see how minimal the training was, that these videos are often shown during the roll call part of the beginning of a shift. Officers may or may not be present for that. There's just a checkbox if they were there saying that they've seen it. And we weren't able to track where that data is contained, whether it's reported to, I believe it was the Attorney General who oversees that kind of data. So one thing I think as we're moving forward with this particular issue with AB 449 is looking to see whether our Attorney General is in fact receiving that data and recording it, and whether we have any records that are available now, because it's been a year, I believe, since that data was supposed to start being reported to the Attorney General. And it was not clear to us how many times a law enforcement officer would be required to see the same video on similar subject. So I think that there is ample room for us as a commission to look into how robust these trainings are, how frequent they are, and whether they're meeting the need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that duly noted, I'll try to make sure that we keep this open for future meetings and or agenda items or discussions within subcommittees. So thank you. This is not a final moment, but a fluid one. So thank you so much. Do we have any other comments by commissioners or CRD folks?
No other hands are raised.
All right, fantastic. Can we go then to public comment? Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
No public comment on Zoom.
Kevin, do we have any email public comment?
No email public comment.
Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room?
No public comment in the room.
All right, I'd like to move to agenda item 12 then, commission member announcements. And since I've talked enough, I would like to open it up to all my fellow commission members. And I got to say this now that I'm reelected. I love you all. So floor is yours. And Civil Rights Department folks too. Don't want to leave them out.
Chair Levin, may I speak?
Please.
Okay, great. I'm sorry for my internet issues. So I had two requests. One is the advisory board, Racial and Identity Profiling Advisory Board, also known as RIPA, just released their annual report. And I thought it would be advantageous to us to request a brief presentation. Certainly, this is something that I think connects to our work in terms of understanding the issue of racial and identity profiling. And then secondly, if I may, Stop API Hate has just released a report on anti-Pacific Islander hate and also the surge in South Asian hate, specifically online. And we have also some preliminary data on the administration's immigration enforcement. And it's pretty shocking information that we'd be happy to share at some future commission meeting. So that's just a request for some time down the line. Thank you.
Absolutely. Dr. Watts, can we, I made a little notation, but please let's put that in on our upcoming agenda things. The only thing I just want to add, not with specific respect to this, but I want to get everybody's issues out. And sometimes we have issues related to, for instance, a speaker availability or something like that. So I don't want people to think if someone's not invited at the very next meeting, it's because we're casting dispersions on an opinion or something. It's just we're juggling different community fora along with the meetings, and sometimes and oftentimes I don't get to talk to the community forum people. So I just want to make sure sometimes I don't step on them if they're, for instance, inviting the same or a similar speaker. But yes, absolutely. Let's put this on the agenda. And let me just once again, what remarkable work you've done, not only for residents of our state, but the nation as a whole. It's such a pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Do we have any other commissioners' presentations or statements?
No other hands are raised.
Okay. With that said, we don't have any commissioners commenting on commissioner statements, I would imagine. So I will then move on to public comment. Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
Kevin, do we have any email public comment?
No email public comment.
Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room? All right. If we could then move to one of our last items, and that is future agenda items. I'm going to go last. So does anyone have any other items that they would like to put on the agenda? It almost sounds like we'll incorporate by reference Vice Chair Che's suggestion from the last into this. Do we have any future agenda items?
Vice Chair Adamski.
Vice Chair Adamski.
Thank you, Chair Levin. I know that we had on our agenda today originally to discuss ways to include youth members of the commission, and we postponed that because the commissioner who brought that forward was not able to attend today. I would just want to make sure that we see this on our next agenda item if we can.
Absolutely, and duly noted.
Thank you.
Do we have any other commissioners?
No other hands raised.
Okay, I also then will try to keep the homeless agenda item for a subsequent meeting, as well as these civil rights, civil liberties that I will continue to have at every meeting as long as I'm chair. Any other? And also, by the way, just I hope to try to get a variety of survivors and victims to subsequent meetings as well, and we'll keep you posted. Any other discussions with commissioners on future agenda items? All right, Kevin, since we don't have any hands up, I will now go over to Rebecca. Do we have any public comment on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
None on email.
Zeleny, do we have any public comment in the room? All right, we will move then to agenda item number 14, public comment on items not on the agenda. The commission may not discuss or act on any matter raised during the public comment section that is not included on this agenda, except whether to decide to place the matter on the agenda of a future meeting. So is there any commission discussion? All right, with that, Rebecca, do we have any public comment on Zoom? Oh, and thank you so much for putting that up.
None on Zoom, no.
Okay, Kevin, do we have any emailed public comment?
Yes, we actually have two via email. One additional comment from Emily Alt, who I talked about earlier. Her comment is that she is part of the Yolo County Gun Violence Prevention Collaborative, and they have events about 2 times a year. Her question is there a representative from the commission who would like to be included in updates for this collaborative? Their next meeting will be held in Woodland on April 2nd, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and we'll be joined by Congressman Mike Thompson, and Gabby Giffords will be joining via Zoom. This event will include gun violence prevention experts sharing their data, and the goal of the meeting is to educate, connect, and collaborate on local, regional, and national gun violence prevention efforts. The second one is from Sam, who just spoke a little earlier. Just wanted to let Sam know and let the commission know that we did receive his email with that attachment from the article that he sent to the San Francisco Chronicle, and we'll be sure to get that out to the commissioners.
Thank you so much. And I would just direct anyone who's has these upcoming type of events. Dr. Watts is the one who generally keeps us apprised of what wonderful events there are, along with our other commissioners. But I will ask you, if you could, to get information about that to the commissioners. So thank you. All right. Do we have any public comment in the room? All right. Then on that, this meeting under section 15 of our agenda shall be adjourned. So that is our adjournment of the meeting. Unless there's something I'm missing, just a Civil Rights Department, let me know if there's something I failed to do. And well, with that note, I will just thank everyone for all their assistance, and also thank you for putting your faith in me. I want to elevate you, and I want to elevate the communities that you serve. And if there's any way that I can be helpful, in any way that we can statutorily communicate, please do so. And I just want to remind you that I will go anywhere in the state to be at non-fundraising events, particularly for vulnerable communities. So with no further ado, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 11:51, keeping our record of getting out before noon. And just again, a heartfelt thanks to not only my fellow commissioners, but the civil rights staff. And if I may, because he's not here, Director Kish, who I know is just running wheels all over the state. So thank you so much. We are adjourned at 11:52. Thank you.